local member, Simon Watts, has brought this to the House. Also acknowledge Auckland councillors, Chris Darby and Richard Hills, who brought it to the Auckland Council, and particularly to acknowledge all those who have advocated from the boating club and from the community to get this building restored. It's a major challenge for us, Mr. Speaker, that we have many beautiful buildings across the city that fall into decrepitude because there is no practical means for funding their protection and their restoration. I very sadly watched out in New Lynn where the Clark red brick church that was built on Margan Ave by the owners of Brickworks went into private ownership, and that owner didn't have the funds to look after the church. One of the sidewalls collapsed. Water ingress meant the church was so badly harmed that it ended up being demolished. It was a beautiful little red brick church. It could have made a fantastic cafe on the corner of Margan Ave. So I take real heart that someone has come up with the idea of how do we work out how to fund the restoration of this beautiful heritage building in Takapuna to ensure that it remains part of our community and it gets looked after. It was very cool to read some of the history to see that the building was moved into place by barge in the 1920s and that up to the 1970s the club was still using it, and that the dances that regularly occurred there, perhaps we should have some more dancers at this building too. I hope not just the cafe, but let's get some dancers going on there again. Yeah, I think this is the sort of solution that we do need. There's also a Yosen orchard packing building out in Swanson, where I live out in Ranui, a beautiful old building which is not allowed to be demolished but is not currently being restored, so eventually will reach some state of damage that it probably will be demolished, and we see this all too often. So I really admire that people have taken the effort to come up with a solution so that funds can be raised to actually restore this building so it remains a valuable asset for the North Shore community and for indeed the heritage of Auckland in general. Thank you. We commend this bill to the House.
Mr. Speaker, Simon Court. The Ag Party will be...
God, that is quick. Now, it's quite interesting when Steve Abel mentions the street where Auntie Gwen lives, Margan Ave in New Lynn, where she has lived for over 70 years, with her husband Bert, with her children, then as a widow, which she was a widow before I was born, and poor person who lost her father and her husband a week apart. And yeah, for Kiwi Scoot, yes, that was me who put up that question on the YouTube chat. And it relates more to a later part of the show. So yeah, it's quite intriguing hearing where Auntie Gwen's house is, which I only met Auntie Gwen last year at the general election. And yeah, it's quite interesting actually to hear that, Auntie Gwen could walk to that cafe because she's in the, if that did exist, but yeah, she's in that lucky boat that she's got a fruit and veggie shop down one direction of the street and a fruit and veggie shop down the other direction of the street. Yeah.
One thing I've learned about this government is that they all like coffee.
Oh, yes. Biggest spender at Newtown Market for coffee was Julian Genter from Greens, followed by Corona Mafu from National.
There you go. They see an old building, they go, put a cafe there. It's like, okay, yeah.
I worked at a church that was converted into a cafe.
Yeah.
Cafe in Manukau, which was right up in there until Diane basically broke her ankle in Bali and basically forced her into early retirement. But I think in early retirement, I think she was getting the pension.
This government is sponsored by Big Coffee.